Welcome to Talk Travel with Heather Tate, North Mississippi's podcast for savvy travelers. Talk Travel with Heather Tate is a weekly podcast that airs every Monday on the Shark 102.3 FM radio station based in Ripley, Mississippi, and is then released as a podcast. Travel advisor and travel enthusiast Heather Tate of Whimsical Destinations gives listeners expert travel tips curated through the years of personal and professional experience. By clicking subscribe, you'll have a new travel tip to add to your collection delivered to your podcast library every Monday. Talk Travel with Heather Tate is brought to you by Sun Bear Studio. Sun Bear Studio is a boutique recording studio in the heart of Ripley, Mississippi. When you record with us at Sun Bear Studio, we can mix, master, register, and publish your music, your podcast, or your family story. Email us when you're ready at sunbear@jc.media.
This program was recorded at Sun Bear Studio in Ripley, Mississippi.
Good morning, Northeast Mississippi travelers. This is Heather with Talk Travel with Heather Tate, and I am so excited to share my adventures and tried and true tips with you. Whether you are also a seasoned traveler, a hopeful traveler, or currently an armchair traveler, meaning you're going to follow along with us from home for now. This is our 187th episode of Talk Travel with Heather Tate. There's a lot of T's I'm about to say, and this is going to be called Tortola Take 2. So our first attempt to visit Tortola did not go as planned, meaning we didn't even make it our first time. I told you a couple weeks ago that we ended up in Puerto Rico, in San Juan, Puerto Rico, by accident on a cruise because we were originally planned on a different itinerary that got changed mid-cruise. And the port that was intended originally was Tortola. So Tortola is the largest and most populated island in the British Virgin Islands. So a lot of you have heard of the U.S. Virgin Islands, St. Thomas, St. Croix, St. John. But Tortola then is the largest of the British Virgin Islands. So yes, you have to have a passport to go to Tortola, whereas you can go to the U.S. Virgin Islands without one. So fun fact there. Well, this was our second attempt to go to Tortola, and this time we did actually make it. But just like our first near experience, it also did not go as planned. And I will share this story with you. But first, let me give you some quick facts about Tortola. Because if we're honest, this is not a very popular island for us. Like, it's not one that everyone has heard of, for example, like Jamaica or the Bahamas or, even Barbados. Even St. Lucia now is becoming a lot more popular. Tortola is not one that is just common knowledge, I would say. But like I said before, it is the largest and most populated island in the British Virgin Islands, a whopping 21 square miles. It's also 60 miles east of Puerto Rico. So when we left out of San Juan on our cruise, this was our very first stop. So we did not have to go very far. That's why we left at like 8 o'clock at night, and we were there by the next morning. The capital city is called Road Town. That's the name of the capital city. I had to, in my mind, I kept calling it Tortola, but Tortola is the name of the island, not the capital city. So Road Town is the name of the capital city. It is known for incredible beaches, one of which, actually the most popular beach, we explored ourselves, mountains, 17th century piracy, turtles and iguanas. I mean, it is a beach lover's paradise. The name Tortola, I would think, would come from a Spanish word for turtle, right? That's what and I associate Tortola with turtles, but no, it comes from the Spanish word for turtle dove. So I think that's really neat. So turtle, yes, is in it, but it's turtle dove, not swimming turtles. Oh, a popular dish here, if you're wanting something authentic, is chicken roti with mango chutney. And I think this is neat because it's a fun combination of cultures because it's the British Virgin Islands. You're going to have a lot of English that come here. You have Spanish that will come here. And then you have the mango from the Caribbean with the chutney. And mango chutney is also very popular in England. some beautiful beaches, like I said, one of which is called Cane Garden Bay. And that's where we ended up, but that's not where I intended for us to go. So I'm going to tell you the story of our day in Tortola and why I want to go back. Okay. So we had a big excursion planned for every island of our cruise, with the exception of Tortola, because in my mind, at first, I was going to just let it be a beach day. That was my original intention. I was like, we'll just take a taxi to the beach. That'll be our relaxing day. We'll walk around. We'll see some things. Like, I'm not going to make us do a big excursion that day. And that lasted all about, 5 minutes of me deciding that, because I didn't want my husband Logan to think I had a big excursion booked for every day. So this was going to be my compromise. I wouldn't have one for Tortola. Well, then I started researching Tortola, because that's what I do. I research every destination we're going to, every destination my guests are going to go to, every destination I could possibly want to go to. That's in my nature. And I started finding things that the number one activity, or a very popular attraction, is off of Tortola in one of the islands called Virgin Gorda, and it's known as the Baths. That's right, baths, like bathtub, the baths. So these are massive boulders, caves, a maze of tide pools, tunnels, grottos, arches. I mean, it was going to look really good on my gram, right? Like, it was going to look amazing. And so you could do an excursion through the cruise line, but those were really kind of pricey. And I thought, okay, well, this is supposed to be my laid back day. I'm not going to hit Logan with, $200 to $300 per person for an excursion this day. I'm going to figure out the most economical way to go to the baths. And I did. And it would have worked if we were not there on Martin Luther King Monday, so the holiday weekend, and the Norwegians' Epic, which is a huge cruise ship, made our Brilliance of the Seas look like a little tiny tugboat in comparison. So they have a lot of people on board. And they all had researched, how do you go to the baths? And there's one ferry service that the entire road town uses. And it was like, show up 15 minutes before. You hop on the ferry. You take the ferry. It's about a 45-minute ferry ride. And then they'll have taxis, which they call jitneys, open-aired taxis, like what we would call like an open air tractor pull. They call jitneys. And so it's like a bus, but it's open air, or what we think of an open air shuttle kind of, but they call them jitneys. And so then they take you from there, from where you are at the marina, to the baths. But it was going to be great. It was like $40 per person round trip. It was going to be an inexpensive day. We were going to have a great time. You pay a couple of dollars to go into the baths. But here was the problem. Everybody also thought that would be a great idea. So, yes, it would have been less expensive. But we showed up at 8:45, which is what it told me, 15 minutes before, which it left at 9. And at that point, we had missed the 9 o'clock ferry. The next ferry wasn't until 10:40. Well, at that point, Logan, London, and Christian, they were done. They didn't want to wait in line. They were calculating if we were to take, which ferry we would take back. Are we going to miss the ship? And how many people are there going to be over there trying to get back? And so Logan was like, no, I don't want to do it. And I was not giving up. I really wanted to. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go to the baths. So we waited for an hour in the line. And I'm telling you, that hour was not the most pleasant hour of our cruise, because I'm frustrated with Logan. He's frustrated with me. I am convinced this is going to work. Like, I'm not giving up. And then we find out that the 10:40 ferry is also sold out, and that they're going to see if they can get another ferry. At this point, I realized, okay, I've lost. I'm not getting to go to the baths this trip. So it was in my feelings for a moment. And then, as I normally do, I rebound. So I was ready to rebound. And we found some people that were like, do you want to go to the beach? And I already knew. I had looked up the best beach in Tortola was Cane Garden Bay. And so they had these jitneys all lined up, and they're like, we're going to Cane Garden Bay. So that's what we did. We hopped on the jitney. They waited till it was full. I mean, there might have been 18 people that can fit on a jitney. And we go up and over the mountains. So it was beautiful. It It's a little scary because at one point the jitney kind of stalled as we're going up the mountain. And remember, I told you it was mountainous. You can go hiking here in Tortola. Beautiful. If you like mountains and beach, it's a great combination for both. But we went up and over. And so we got a little bit of a tour on the way. Our driver will point out some things. It also kind of felt like we were being herded like sheep over the mountain to the beach. But we got to go to Cane Garden Bay. It was stunning. The water was so buoyant, but yet, of course, even though it was salt water, it wasn't as stinging to the eyes as other seawater has been. So the boys had their goggles. They were perfectly happy. It was so easy to float there that Christian learned how to float, like for the first time on his back. And that's what he would do for 10 minutes at a time. So we had the best time. You could rent umbrellas and beach chairs. So it was pretty commercialized, I would say, and that's both good and bad. If you're wanting a pristine, you're only there by yourself, like desert island kind of experience, then you're not going to get that here. It was, this is where you're going, where they had bathroom facilities, really good food. Like, this isn't just, it's a beach dive. Logan said that his fish sandwich was spot on. I had really good cheese quesadillas and guacamole, and had a fried plantain, or had avocado. It was delicious. The drinks were great, so I was impressed for the food. I thought it was fair pricing, but definitely more commercialized than, like this. It wasn't the experience if you're going and you want it to be just you. But we loved it. Thought the beach was beautiful. I realized when I go back, I need to have sunblock for my lips because temp-wise, it was great. The water felt wonderful. My lips got burned. I must have floated too much on my back. So everything else was fine except for my lips. There was places where you could buy things for the beach, lots of souvenirs here. So it was a great place. But here's why I want to go back and stay for longer in the British Virgin Islands. There's so much more to do. For one, I'm going to the Bass. I think what I'll do next time is I will charter a boat. And then that way I can go to Joss Van Dyke, go to the Sand Dollar Bar, go to the Bass, and just have a whole day where I want to be able to curate my day going to the other smaller islands. And I will skip waiting for a ferry again because of our experience. It's very crowded day because, again, peak time of travel. If it had been during the summer and it wasn't peak time, I might not have had trouble, but I learn things all the time, and that was why it matters the time of year if you're going to catch that ferry or how early you need to be there. So if you're going peak time, you need to be there but more than 15 minutes before. I'd have said 45 minutes before and I'd have been fine, but 15 minutes was not enough. Oh, also, there is a rum distillery. Cowwood Rum Distillery is 400 years old. So that will be a really cool thing that I want to go to. It is ideal here for swimming, snorkeling, scuba, year-round. They have a dolphin discovery in Tortola where you can interact with dolphins in a protected ocean cove. I am constantly trying to weigh my love for animals and experiencing wildlife without violating their rights. So I love the idea that it is a protected ocean cove. And there's so much more that I would like to see. I would like to go hiking in their national park in the mountains. So I really feel like this is a destination that both shines as a cruise port. It's a favorite for many people who have been, and I can see why. Because if you're wanting just a relaxing beach day, they've got beautiful beaches. But if you're wanting to do some more things, to have some variety, to have the beach and mountain experience, this is a great location. And if you're wanting to maybe combine this with the U.S. Virgin Islands, you can do boats that go back and forth, or if you want to go to Puerto Rico and combine with the British Virgin Islands, also a great way to do this. So I'm already brainstorming, going back and looking into places where I would stay. That's what happens when we go on a cruise. I look at a cruise kind of as like a first date, right? Like that's the best way of looking at it. Like, okay, do we want to take this to a second date or a third date? And if I love the place as a cruise port, then I know I will love it when I go and stay, because you can always see more, do more, experience more when you're going and staying multiple nights or a week than you can just for 6 to 8 hours. It's kind of like a sampler on a cruise. So if you've been to Tortola, I would love to hear your experience and what you loved about it. You can go to our Facebook page, Heather and Logan Tate, Whimsical Destinations. You can see lots of pictures. Just type in Tortola in the search bar, and you can see our personal pictures from here, and you can share your own. Wherever you go this week or whatever you do, life is a great adventure. Don't miss it. Take the trip. Make those memories. You won't regret it. Have a great week.
Thanks for tuning in to our daily programming. All of our programs are released as podcasts on the major podcast platforms where the information can be downloaded and shared for months. If your business or organization would like to take this unique opportunity to sponsor a show that not only is broadcast as a radio program, but also a podcast, give the Shark 1023 headquarters a call at 662-837-1023. Imagine your commercial in this space every week. Give us a call.
This show is made possible by JC Media, LLC in Ripley, Mississippi. JC Media owns the Shark 102.3 Classic Rock FM radio station where the show is hosted, and Sun Bear Recording Studio where the interviews are recorded. We need your feedback and support. If you listen to the podcast on a player like iTunes, Google Podcasts, or Amazon Music, please subscribe to the show and leave us a review. We also have an email in which you can share your feedback. That email is theshark1023@gmail.com. Subscribe to our podcast on your favorite app or stream episodes online at shark1023.com/podcasts. Today's episode was produced by Melinda Marsalis. It was edited by Rick Williams and engineered by Chris Marsalis. The podcast technician is Joyce Grady.